and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel called Is It Good or Is It Nostalgia? How I came up with this is basically I watched Sky High, which we will be covering today, a couple of weeks ago with my co-workers, and weirdly they hadn't seen it ever, although we were pretty close in age, and they absolutely hated this movie. And 11-year-old me just kind of died on the inside because I remember watching this as a kid when it first came out in 2005, and I thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. And their take on Sky High really made me think about why I love this movie so much. And then I realized it's because of nostalgia and what was happening at the time when this movie came out. So back in 2005, Sky High was released when Disney was kind of starting to do like elevated decoms. So like Sky High came out in 2005, and then we had High School Musical that basically got released the next year in 2006, which was a pretty popular movie. If you guys want me to do Is It Good or Is It Nostalgia on High School Musical one day, let me know in the comments below, because I think that would be a really good video for this topic. So Sky High had a really good cast, which was crazy for like a Disney movie that was just randomly made in 2005. But the cast included Kurt Russell, Daniel Panabaker, the late Kelly Preston, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Michael Anagarano, hopefully I said his name correct, and Stephen Strait. This cast either went on to star in film and media that we either really enjoyed, or they had already done that in their careers. In the case of Kelly Preston and Kurt Russell, we even had some kind of, I guess, guest appearances by Linda Carter, Bruce Campbell, and the legendary Cloris Leachman, which was kind of crazy again for a Disney movie. Yeah, but looking at this cast, you think this was going to be like the greatest thing ever, but as you will see as we move on to the rest of this video, that wasn't necessarily the case. So for this movie, I was trying to find like an appropriate synopsis to really describe what happens in this movie, but like every single one I read, it was just like weirdly like very vague, like Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb. I even think the Wikipedia was kind of vague, don't quote me on that one, but I decided we'll just hear it from the horse's mouth what this movie was about. So according to Disney Plus, the son of legendary heroes, Will Stronghold carries huge expectations as he enters a high school known for molding the heroes of tomorrow. However, his quest to emerge from his parents' shadow becomes even more difficult once the school labels him a sidekick. But as he discovers his true strengths, he'll also learn that it takes loyalty and teamwork to truly become a hero. Like I said, the synopsis really isn't that great. It kind of like, it helped, like I won't say like those things didn't happen in the movie, it did, but it doesn't really give us like what the movie is truly about, if that makes sense, as you'll see kind of like once we go over the events of what actually happens in the movies. But I'm generally not a fan of descriptions that don't really tell you exactly what the movie's about. Like, I'm not saying it has to give you the whole plot in the description, but this really is just like a really very general way to describe what happens in this movie. Alright guys, so for the plot of the movie, I'm gonna try to keep it short and not too long, but this is where we see like a lot of the problems, right? So the movie starts and we basically meet Will's parents, who is Commander and Jetstream, these super popular heroes, and then we also meet Layla, which is his best friend. So the movie starts with his first day at Sky High, so it's their first day going to a superhero school, right? At this point, Will doesn't have any powers and he's actively trying to hide it from his parents. So here's where I guess where the beginning of Will's hero's journey starts. It's him lying to his parents about not having powers and wanting to make them proud, and then it's also his first day of superhero school. So as for the beginning, you know, the original want of the character in this movie is great. You know, it's something that we could see, okay, him trying to figure out, even though they didn't really give us a path to him figuring it out, but I guess that's what the events coming up is supposed to do. So it's your first day, they catch the bus, and this is where we meet the other freshmen going to Sky High, and we meet bus driver Ron Wilson, and he basically takes them to school by, you know, jumping off a highway, and they are all very surprised because apparently they didn't know that their school was in the sky, even though it's called Sky High, and also their parents enrolled them. So there's that, but they make it safely because the bus is a rocket which flies to the school. So once it gets to school, we meet the other key players in the plot. We meet Gwen, who is supposed to be Will's love interest, which, by the way, Layla, who's Will's best friend, is in love with him, and he's very oblivious to it. So as far as he's concerned, she's just his best friend. But we meet Gwen, who he is actually interested in. Gwen plays a bigger part in this movie. She actually is evil, like very, very evil, which will come to fruition later. The only other really relevant character we meet is Warren Peace, who in this scenario is supposed to be Will's kind of like arch nemesis, and it's only because Will's dad, Commander, actually locked up Warren's father because he was like this big time villain, but he's locked up and Warren kind of just has it all for him, right? He just doesn't like him because Warren doesn't have his dad, and it's because of Will's dad. Right, so after we meet like Gwen and Warren, we go into kind of like the jazzed up sequence of the movie, the first jazzed up sequence of the movie, because there's quite a few. And we go to a gym class where Ash from Ash vs. the Evil Dead attempts to put them into either hero support, which are sidekicks, or into the actual hero class. Obviously, Will and Layla and the other kids that they meet on the bus get put into hero support. So after the gym class sequence, it kind of like establishes, okay, this is what Will really needs to do, right? He needs to somehow tell his parents that he's a sidekick, maybe possibly make it out of hero support to make them proud, and then to also discover what his powers are. Which again, admirable goal for this entire movie. The issue is that like within the next like 10 to 15 minutes, Will actually gets his powers, which is super strength like his dad, and then his dad is already proud of him. So I'm just like here like, okay, so Will already achieved what he needed to achieve, and didn't really create a new goal that made us reinvest ourselves into Will, because like it just turns into, after Will gets his powers, he has this huge fight with War and Peace. He gets placed into the hero class, and then okay, he's there and now he's popular, right? So it's like it was like bam 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 bam, Will has everything he wants, right? And on top of this, when he gets placed into hero class, he gets paired up with Gwen, which again is the girl he likes, and then all of a sudden he has a girlfriend. At this point in the movie, I'm just like, okay, so then what are we working towards now? And honestly, for like the next 10 to 15 minutes, it was like very muddy there for a second, right? So Will is now in the inner circle with the popular kids. He really isn't hanging out with the friends that he made on his first day of school, and he isn't hanging out with Layla, who's been his best friend since they were children, right? At this point, the new goal is to find someone to go to homecoming with, which obviously he goes with Gwen because, him and Gwen are like this now. She has ulterior motives, but he doesn't know. He's like, oh, it's like the prettiest girl is trying to be my girlfriend, right? And then Layla, she's just trying to tell Will how she feels, and eventually she just kind of gives up on him, and she comes up with this plot that she's going to homecoming with War and Peace to make him jealous. And Will is just like, what the? But then he doesn't even try that hard anymore to like retain his friendships, right? Because this is his new goal, right? His new goal is to kind of retain his friendships even though he's still popular. But again, he wasn't even working that hard to achieve it. And at this point, I was more invested in Layla's feelings towards Will and not really Will's feelings towards anybody else. Like, I honestly don't know how the writers got away with this, because at this point I wasn't really rooting for him anymore, right? So after the big homecoming debacle about who's going with who's now boyfriend and girlfriend with whoever, we finally get to like the kind of like the tipping point in the movie, right, where Will has to kind of like make a decision, right? So we get to a point in the movie where Gwen kind of like, she's like marking her territory, right? Because again, Gwen has ulterior motives, right? She's marking her territory, and she feels like she needs to keep Will isolated. So she kind of like tells Layla this big lie, like, hey, like Will doesn't care for you, blah blah, he doesn't want to see you anymore. And Layla kind of like returns, the conversation, says, okay, fine, we'll tell him I don't want to see him anymore. And that kind of, Gwen kind of like essentially breaks them up from being best friends, right? So Will then finds out what Gwen said to Layla, and that was kind of like, I guess, the last straw, the thing that breaks the rose-colored glasses that Will's been wearing this whole time throughout this whole movie when it comes to Gwen. And he kind of breaks it off with her, and she goes like kind of like psycho crazy, but that is neither here nor there, because again, she was already psycho crazy. We just didn't know why, but she's psycho crazy, right? Finally, we get to, I guess, the third act, which is supposed to be like the final stand, the resolution to this movie, to which, at this point we really like like when I really stop to look at that movie, it's like really like what were we working towards? I don't know, right? But we get to the end of the movie where it's revealed that Gwen is this evil person called Royal Pain, who actually was a villain that Commander and Jetstream, Will's parents, fought years and years back, like years and years ago. And they actually thought that she kind of just disappeared, but really Royal Pain had this weapon called a pacifier, which she was trying to use to like make all the superpowered people like babies, and I guess she was gonna try to like raise them to be evil or whatever. But her plan kind of backfired when Commander and Jetstream stopped her, and they this whole time thought that she was like gone, missing, maybe dead, but really they accidentally turned her into a baby. And this weapon was actually sitting in Will's parents what you call that, like their stronghold, kind of like their like kind of like their back cave. What do you call that thing? I'll put the name on the screen. So this weapon has been sitting in their sanctum, and the whole reason Gwen wanted to be friends with Will, or I guess to be in a relationship with him, was to gain access to this weapon, because for some reason she couldn't just rebuild it herself, but you know, she needed it directly from the sanctum, and she got it, right? So now we're at homecoming, and Royal Pain reveals herself, and she's like, blah blah blah, and at the same time Will kind of figures out, oh, this is who Gwen is, right? Because he's looking through his parents' yearbook, which by the way they look through earlier in the movie, and he didn't realize, oh, that's a picture of Gwen. But for some reason, once he finally breaks up with her, he realizes, oh shoot, Gwen is the same person that went to school with his parents, who his parents taught, and is Royal Pain. So final stand continues. Everyone's at the dance, including Will's parents, you know, all the teachers. Oh, Linda Carter, by the way, who plays Principal Powers, which I'm pretty sure she got this part because she was, you know, Wonder Woman. So they're all at this dance, and Royal Pain enacts her plans. She turns all the adults to babies, and like half the school to babies. So now it's up to Will and his friends, who are classified as hero support, except Will, you know, who's classified as a hero, to kind of save the day. So, you know, they do all their stuff, blah blah blah. They eventually stop Gwen, you know, great, blah blah blah. And, you know, that is the end of the movie. As you can see, the plot of this movie had like issues. This movie had like a goal problem. So in the beginning, the goal was Will was trying to not disappoint his parents to get his powers, but then that was resolved in the first like 20 minutes. So then it was like very muddy. There was nothing going on. There was no goal. Like his goal was to keep his friends, but he wasn't really working at it. So they really couldn't be invested in what was going on, right? It was just a part of the movie where everybody's kind of like walking around, and where we're like, okay, things are happening, but like, what are we working towards here, Will, right? And honestly, if that was like something they had worked on before they had made the film, it wouldn't hold such a great area in my mind when it comes to this movie. While I do love it, it's just like looking at movies from now at my age and the interest I have in it, I like notice these things, and sometimes I don't. It's like when I watch movies, especially like old movies, I kind of like turn my brain off and I just kind of watch it, and that's like just the nostalgia, right, of remembering what that movie felt like when you were a kid. But yeah guys, so like I guess in conclusion, to like answer the question, was it good or is it nostalgia, I will say that the movie, as I said before, definitely has like a goal problem. A great example of a great goal in a movie would be Avengers Endgame. And I know you're probably thinking, well, those are like two different scale movies, which is true, but in Avengers Endgame we all knew from the very beginning what they needed to do, or what they wanted to do, and how they needed to do it. They knew that they wanted to stop Thanos and reverse the events of the snap, so they knew that they needed to get the stones, right? For the entire movie they were basically working towards that thing. The issue with Sky High is that it had goals, but they were very short-lived, and they weren't completed in a way that got the audience invested. So it was like, yeah, we watched it, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. Sky High will always be a movie I enjoy, but definitely I'm gonna say it's nostalgia. That's the thing that you feel, especially if you watch it as a kid. If you watch it as an adult right now, you probably hate this movie, like absolutely 100%. But alright guys, that is it for this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I'm really trying not to make long form videos too often. For some reason my videos end up being like over like 20 minutes, and we're not trying to do that, so hopefully it's not that long. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and watch my video. Leave in the comments if you think Sky is actually good or if it's just nostalgia for you. It will be very interesting to know. Thanks for watching guys. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more from me, please subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye.